Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inside Out Smile. I'm your host, Dr. Amber Q, and today I want to share something that I may have mentioned previously in the past. I mean, let's face it, I've done a lot of episodes, so I'm sure I have mentioned this particular thing in the past, but maybe not in the same way. And that is that I'm going to mention a show that I used to watch years ago, like literally years ago. I watched the pilots and then I fell in love with it, and then I watched it religiously. Like literally, I watched it through dental school, and I love it so much. I loved it so much, and I still absolutely adore it. And I think that I wanted to mention something because I wanted to talk about it today because I feel that, I think previously when I mentioned it within the theme of nostalgia. But today I want to speak about it in a different way, something kind of heavier actually. And so the thing is that, I love this show. If you have not seen 30-something, you need to check it out because it is brilliant. It is about life. It is fantastic. And I loved it so much. Well, I do still love it, right? Which is why I keep going back to it. And I will watch episodes. In fact, I actually had it on VHS. Yes, showing my age. I had it on VHS. And then I'm trying to think whether I had it on DVD. I may even have had it on DVD. I'm not sure. But I had the soundtrack for sure. Love the soundtrack as well. And anyway, so today I went back and yesterday as well. So I was watching this weekend as well. I was basically watching, an episode here or there because, I'm sorry, it's so much better than Friends. But it's kind of a different thing to Friends, right? And that's where Friends came from, actually, because 30-something was about 30-something people. And then I think the people who created Friends because they saw the success of 30-something. Anyway, I love the ethos of the people in 30-something. Michael and Hope, they were my favorite couple. And, everyone wanted a Michael, right? All the girls wanted a Michael. Such a great hubby, such a great dad. Anyway, such a great dad to the baby. And I learnt today, because then I kind of went down a rabbit hole, that he was voted one of the best TV dads. Anyway, he's so lovely, right? He's still lovely. And he's actually married to one of the other cast members of 30-something, which I also really love. But I looked up a couple of the other characters, Mel Harris, who I love, and Melanie Mayron. And what I really love, and they're all brilliant, right? They're all doing, like Peter Horton, who was another character. He was actually in, I think he produced or directed ER, right? No, Grey's Anatomy. Sorry, get your facts straight, Amber. It was Grey's Anatomy. And of course, I loved Grey's Anatomy. Now, can I just say that Melanie Mayron has a poodle. Yeah, it's a white standard. And I just love that thought, I just love that, the fact that she's a poodle person. She's also got skincare range. So I don't know if they deliver to London. I need to check into that. But she was wearing something that I particularly loved in today's episode that I had watched from a show that's really old. But I just love it so much. And the thing is that there were a few things that struck me, and that's what I actually want to share. Oh my God, that was a bit scary. I don't know what was that? Now, that was a sound effect that I was not expecting, and I honestly don't even know what's happened. I'm like, that was a bit spooky. Anyway, the point is that, that was me kind of looking around, so you can hear my chair creaking. Anyway, so a few things struck me. The first thing was that obviously they have aged. But not only have they aged, and I'm watching them on screen and then seeing them on Instagram, not only have they aged, but of course I've aged as well, right? So every time I watch or rewatch an episode, I'm kind of, on the one hand, I'm time traveling because I'm going back to when I can remember where I was at my parents' house when I saw the pilot. And I told my sister, and I was like, man, I have to watch this. I have to watch this show. I just fell in love with the little promo thing that I saw of it, right? And I can remember certain episodes. And again, I think I said this previously, I don't want to give it away. But I can remember watching one episode in dental school in the common room. And yeah, and I can just remember so many things about it. Anyway, I love it so much. But I thought to myself, my gosh, I can't believe that they've aged so much. Obviously, I've aged as well. And I thought to myself, it genuinely made me think about how short life is. And I feel bad saying this because obviously there are many people suffering all over the world and they don't have the privileges that we have. But even so, we're still aging, right? We can eat well, we can exercise, we can buy the skincare, the supplements, etc. I'm not knocking that, right? Because obviously, I love lifestyle medicine, etc. And I do believe in taking care of your body. But the fact is that we do age, right? And time moves in one direction. And I don't know, I was speaking with I was so struck by this today. I was speaking to my sister, and it's the fact that I was saying, it's so weird because this life is so short. And we're living in it right now, and it feels, it just feels really like, it feels as if this is all it is, that this is the full story. But we're only here for a relatively short time. And as I was saying to my sister, we're gone for a very long time after that. We are under the ground for much longer than we are above the ground. And I'm not saying that to scare people or to be sort of depressing about it, but I think it really helps us to recalibrate, right? Islamically, it's good to visit graveyards because you realize about the reality of life. And I think the thing is that there's no point in denying it and trying to kind of pretend that one is not aging, because we're all aging, right? But I think that, and especially like in view of the fact of the episode last week when I was speaking about people being depleted and things, and just not paying attention, right, to what's around them and just becoming so tunnel visioned. But I think that, if you ask me why I'm speaking about this, I'm, kind of musing out aloud. But I think the thing is that, and what I want to sort of actually just give you a quick sort of a quick background thing to this is I saw an article today, and that was essentially about, it was in The Guardian, and it was talking about how we live in this age of decadence, which is true. We have more comfort than we've ever had. But the article was essentially saying that there's no pleasure left in life because I guess, I could kind of just looked at it fleetingly, but I think it's just because everything is at hand, right? So there's no kind of, I guess I want to say in the olden days, but if you're in nature, you plant something, you wait for it to blossom or to give you fruit, so there's patience and then there's so much joy and you tend to it, etc. Whereas obviously, if you want to look at something online, it's kind of instantaneous. And I think the thing is that, real joy, where does that come from? It comes from being with others in real life, and it comes from just, I don't know, for a start, actually, let's go back to being being with people in real life. Why is that so joyful? It's because we experience it with our senses, right? And why is gardening so great? It's because, well, it's like, you're waiting patiently and, it might die, the plant might die, there might be a hurricane, whatever. But the point is that, you're rewarded for your hard work essentially after a period of time. And so I don't know. So, and the thing is, we all have a timeline, right? And I'm not saying this again to make people depressed or uncomfortable, but I think that we can use that discomfort to actually, we can turn that into presence and attention, right? Because life is short, and for some of us, we don't know when our time is up. And we don't have any control over that. I mean, obviously, in terms of living your lifestyle, but none of us know when our time is up, right? When the creator decides our time is up, it's up, right? But the point is, how attentive are we whilst we are here? Like, how awake are we? Because that part is ours, right? And so I just feel that it's true. Why do people, it's like the people, right, who are addicted to things that they shouldn't be addicted to, and I don't want to mention them because I don't know if that becomes sort of a term that flags the podcast episode, but essentially people are addicted to certain things online, and that harms relationships, right? And again, that takes pleasure away from your spouse. And so that's the thing. I just feel that, I don't know, there's just so much joy in just nature and real life and just real things and using our senses. And I feel that it's really interesting because even with AI, yes, it's really great. So many people have said, haven't they, that if you have an AI script or whatever, it's soulless. It might say all the right words, but it's actually soulless. And that's why I personally don't use anything for this podcast, right? I will pause if I want a glass of water. I've got water right here. Okay, let's have a sip. Bismillah. So blessed. I've got Scottish spring water from the Highlands, and I've got a slice of lemon. So great. Bismillah. So nice. I actually had sparkling water from a different area, which I think was still in Scotland, but I finished that bottle, so then I had to move to my still. Sometimes I like having sparkling water, Anyway, I'm digressing as usual. But yeah, that's why I like to keep all my, years ago it'd been like, yeah, it'd be so great to take out the pauses and the ums and the blah, blah, blah. But now with AI, I just feel that I just want this to be raw and unfiltered. And that's why I resist it. And I don't know if you find it annoying. So I'm sorry if you do. But anyway, this is the podcast as it is. And so, yeah, so I think the thing is that how alive are we while we're here? Because at this very moment, we are as young as we're ever going to be, as healthy as we're ever going to be. Well, no, that's debatable depending on how healthy you are at the moment. But at the end of the day, although it's very important and it's vital to look after your body because, your body is entrusted to you as a vehicle for being on this earth. But so looking after it is imperative. But the point is that, and of course all of us have different kind of like, so many people have health conditions, etc. But the point is that the point really is that that this point in time is just here now, and then it'll be gone, right? It'll be gone because that's time. And so I think, I just want to say, I guess, I just want to say that, as I said, how awake are we whilst we're here? And also, depending on what your faith is, I don't know what, the afterlife is, is essentially for eternity. And so, I don't know, it's just something to think about. So I watched my favourite show and then I was thinking about all of these things. And I just wanted to mention that. And I just wanted to share it with you because life is short. That part's not up for negotiation, as I said. But, what we're going to do with it is like, I don't know. Are we noticing how we live our life? And how we show up on our own timeline, and how do we show up not for ourselves, but for others as well. I think that's just vital. So, yes, I just wanted to send that to you. And also there is a Muslim undertaker actually from Australia who's very famous. And there was a great interview of him. And I found it quite moving. If you're Muslim, you probably know about him, and you probably love to see it if you've not already seen it. And if you're not Muslim, you may want to listen to it. So do you know what? I'm going to link it below in the description. So have a listen and see what you think. And yeah, for all of us, let's just be present, because now is all we actually have, or this very moment, right? Not the now, but just kind of this moment, if that makes sense. Anyway, until the next episode, let's all create connection with nature, because I think that's just so rejuvenating. And let's not just change lives, but save lives.